bass UTV. You know, spinnerbaiting in Florida and the Southeast, wherever we're talking about, is obviously a really big technique. Old Jimmy Houston, Smiling Jimmy, Giggling Jimmy, he's been catching fish on a spinnerbait for God knows how long. I don't know, I think he's like 100 maybe, and he's still catching them on it, so obviously spinnerbaits still work. But what Jimmy's taught us all over the years of his spinnerbaiting is there's a million different variables to the spinnerbait. And one of the biggest, neatest things that I've discovered with spinnerbaiting is in tannic water situations. There's a lot of places that there's tannic water in the United States, and a lot of people immediately are going to think of Florida. But I've run into tannic water situations in Louisiana. I've run into tannic water situations in South Carolina. Run into tannic water a lot if you go in the upper reaches of any tidal system. I'm talking about from Florida to New York, all up and down. I don't have a whole lot of experience on the West Coast tidal wise, but on the East Coast, New Jersey, Delaware, all up and down through all those tidal systems down through there's a lot of tannic water. And something that I've come up with over the years is spinnerbaiting, and spinnerbaiting with some really different colors. This is a Nichol spinnerbait, and obviously you can see it has a lot of purple in it, purple and black. There's some blue in it. This bait right here, I can promise you, has won me $250,000. Promise you. I know for a fact. It won me $125,000 at one time in 2015 on Lake Toho. I am sure if I wouldn't have had this bait that I wouldn't have been able to close out that win. And of course, once again, it's in Florida, it's tannic water. There's something about purples and blues and blacks in tannic water. We've all known about throwing worms and stuff like that. But what people don't do is moving baits, and this spinnerbait in particular, you never see anybody throwing spinnerbaits in these darker colors. Of course, all you see is chartreuse, white, chartreuse and white, and they work. There is absolutely no doubt about chartreuse and white with a silver and a gold blade is the most popular color combination that on a spinnerbait on the shelf in any tackle store, in any normal person's tackle box, absolutely hands down. But when you get in these tannic water situations, it is really hard to beat, a spinnerbait that's like this. And I'm going to start with going through the setup and the tackle that I use to throw this on, and then I'll give you some situations of where and when and how I actually throw this thing. Most of the time I'm going to be using a 1/2 ounce. This one's from Nichol's Pulsator series spinnerbait. Almost exclusively I'll be using 17 or 18 pound sunline, sometimes maybe up as much as 20, but most of the time 17 to 18 pound sunline. Typically I like to throw it on a medium heavy. This is a Halo TI series 7.3 medium heavy. Sometimes I'll throw it on a 7.6 medium heavy if I'm really long tomming it, making long casts like out in big massive grass beds where I'm trying to cover a lot of water. I'll use that little bit longer rod to get a little bit more distance on the fish and